want to research, they can. And we try to get as much as we can that you can potentially verify if you want to go through the effort to do that. And nowadays, with the internet being accessible, it's more readily available than ever. He's doing this research before the internet. I mean, he was driving around, the western part of the United States on his off time looking this stuff up.
Like the person that we know that comes into the loft, he had a past life regression, got a name, found out the past life was in another country, and then he was continuing a book. That he was writing a book, but he really didn't realize it at the time. But when he went back into the person who he found he was in a past life, that person wrote a book, and it was like a continuation.
So he was just continuing
really
the story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I've like I said, I've had people come in here and have told me, when you say, oh, so how did you guys meet as friends? And they'll say, well, believe it or not, we saw each other, we recognized each other. Somehow we just, that like deja vu feeling of like, I know you from somewhere. And then as they've done, typically they're very spiritually minded and involved. And when they've gotten more involved in it, they've come to find out that in a past life they were brother and sister, or that one was a friend of the other, or that they lived in the same village. It just depends on the scenario, or that one was a gladiator and the other one was his second in command, and they fought together and they always protected each other. And I always find it amazing at how they're able to make that connection. And it's like, okay, can you really? Is it something you can really verify, or is it just mind suggested?
It depends how far back.
Yeah.
Because our history goes back. He went back. He said 5,000 years. That one person.
That one person,
yeah.
But then again, our stuff will go further back. And this leads again to the question: how many past lives do we have? Okay, a topic very open to debate. Dick was told by his former wife Tara. Tara's a channeler, by the way. Mm-hmm. She's a very, very powerful channeler, very, very psychic lady. And she told him that one time in trance that he'd had 56,000
wow.
past lives. That's what he went. He went, whoa, whoa, whoa. He went, wow. This really threw him because he really puts a lot of stock in what she says. And he's still really kind of like up in the air about this. Personally, I would think, honestly, I would say probably 500-600. I think some of the Buddhist sects believe there's like 600 past lives. I would kind of go along with that. Mm-hmm. I think there's easily 500-600. Could be more, but definitely 500 or 600. That's not a far-fetched figure. Because again, we go through so much. We go through all things. We have a lot to experience here on Schoolhouse Earth.
Yeah.
Now, can a past life be something as early as just a couple of years ago, like just literally right before you were born?
Sure, it could be. And they say if you commit suicide, you come right back.
Really?
You jump right back in. They put you right back into the flesh.
Really?
A lot of times. Because you're trying to escape your lesson.
So you're brought back to...
So you just be pushed right back into the lesson. It's like, no, go back in there. Like a child just afraid to swim, jumping out of the water. No. You go back in the water. We need you to learn how to swim.
I wonder if the chart changes or what was had to be learned, or if it's the same, similar scenario.
Well, in an absolute sense, we don't know. We don't know what happens on the other side, but we can surmise that, the guides and the masters are definitely, pay very special attention to this one, and they immediately devise something to try to rectify
what's the situation. Yeah, because a lot of times people, past life regression, they immediately assume you're talking about like ancient times, the Romans, but like, can a past life be literally, okay, use me as an example, 44 years ago when I was born, so can I go into a past life that was literally right before I was born of a situation that may have happened? 50 years to me doesn't seem like a long time, so I'd be curious to see if that kind of a situation can come up.
Have you seen the show Past Lives? It was on for a few episodes.
No, I've not had a chance.
The show was, the storyline was people, just what you're saying, that they were coming across somebody that they had dealt with in a past life, and it was literally within like 30 years ago, 40 years and 50 years ago, and they were solving crimes because the person was reincarnated, and then when they were old enough, they were having visions, and then that would take them to the scenario, and then past life regression therapist, I guess you would call it. Yeah, she came in and she coached them and then brought them back to the scene of the crime, and that was the show basically. But it was just within the same life, you know.
Well, that's what I mean, within the same century.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think that past life regression, you're talking about hundreds of centuries before. I'm thinking, well, can it literally happen within the same century that you're living in?
I'm sure.
That's interesting. So someone who does commit suicide, chances are they come back.
Chances are they're going to usually come back pretty quickly. That seems to be like the accepted wisdom regarding that scenario.
And maybe if you're young, like a young child, maybe that didn't get a chance.
Yeah, that could be
too.
too.
The soul comes in and the soul goes out, and a lot of with the research that I've done and going to different scenarios, I'm hearing a lot that if a child comes in and leaves early, that's a special soul that came in to bring people together or to teach lessons or something, because you'll always hear of a child that leaves the earth early. They brought people together. They really touched lives. So they came in for a purpose, and then when it's over, it's
they're
over.
Out again.
Yeah, they're out again.
Now, can a past life be also relative?
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Could a child come back as past life of their grandparents or something like that? It's just, like, for example, could I have as a past life one of my relatives, my great-grandfather or my grandmother or something like that, if a situation needed to be corrected within the family?
Well, I have a friend that was told that her son was her father.
That's what I mean. Like, can that happen?
Her father died when she was 18.
Oh, yeah, that could happen,
and
yes.
And she was pregnant in her early 20s, and she was told just recently that her son was her father.
Was her father? Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, those kind of things, those kind of scenarios do happen. As a matter of fact, there's a man named Ian Stevenson who's a University of Virginia professor, assuming he's still alive. I think he's still around. He has dedicated a great deal of his life to studying spontaneous memories of past life regression. Now, these spontaneous memories of past life regression tend to occur in cultures that are very strong on reincarnation, like India. India is a prime example. Lebanon, he's had some outstanding cases there. And these are cases where a child will say that he was a relative. He was an uncle or somebody that's in the family now, that he was a relative. And they've had cases where the child will say, "You're not my parents. You're not the people I know. The people I'm supposed to be with are in this village over here." And they would take it. I mean, this is really bizarre. The child would be very insistent from a very young age. I mean, this stuff started coming out of their mouth 3, 4 years old, 5 years old. And they would take the child to a village, and without prompting the child, pointing to anybody, the child would walk up to the people and start talking to them as if he knew them.
Wow.
Okay, this is the level of spontaneous memories that this man has pursued.
Or somebody that will go to a city, a foreign city, and all of a sudden know the city and know where to go and the different streets.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, or places. You go to a certain place and suddenly it all looks so very familiar to you, and you're wondering, have I been here before? Or what's this about? Well, very, very interesting.
Yeah. So you think it's meant for us to know portions of our past lives in order for us to heal, in order for us,
Yes.
That's good to know. So we went through karma, we went through dharma, we went through the twin flames.
And we have another concept that's also very interesting. It kind of touches back on something you asked about, if you could have come in, like 50 years ago, or if you're 44 now, coming 50 years ago. You could also have what's called a parallel life.
Okay.
Now this gets mind-boggling. This really kind of bothers people sometimes. But the concept is simply this. We, for one thing, reincarnate with soul groups. We tend to reincarnate as fingers on a hand with different folks. We've already kind of gone over that. But we, too, in a sense, reincarnate as a group ourselves. So right now, as I'm speaking, I could be a laborer in Mexico, a baby in Paris,